Dope is what flows in this fam's DNA. Dope is what flows in this fam's DNA.
What's good, everybody? Welcome to Dope Interviews, brought to you by the mighty 19 Media Group. I'm your host, Warren Shaw, and in the virtual building today, I have an anchor, an attorney, a journalist, and all-around good individual, Julia Jenaé. She is the anchor and host of Court TV. Julia, welcome to Dope Interviews. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Hey, Warren, thank you so much for having me on your program.
This is going to be a fun conversation. I know sometimes people think you're talking about the law. That ain't fun, but I think more importantly, to talk about your career, your ascension, the things that you've been able to do to kind of get into this space. So off air, we'll talk a little bit, but I think first and foremost, wanted to congratulate you on your promotion, the Court TV's on-air anchor. How does it feel, in essence, to kind of take that role on specifically from where you were before?
First of all, thank you for saying that. It is an honor to fill this role. I've been working for Court TV since its relaunch in 2019. There are a lot of people who didn't know that it went away for some years. They remember it from the O.J. Simpson trial and just the iconic, legendary trials that it brought to viewers. So to be a part of that legacy where we focus on the law and the facts, I mean, it's an incredible honor, and it's ironically something I put in my personal statement to law school 12 years ago, that I wanted to be able to merge journalism and law, and what better place to do that than Court TV?
Yeah, real talk. And yeah, I am one of those people who didn't know it initially went away. So I was really interested into kind of finding, even doing my research. I was like, oh man, there was a rebrand and a relaunch. And I think, perfectly and appropriately timed, I think, for someone like yourself as well, too, who is so skilled within this, within this space. In the role, can you say that there's something that you're looking forward to potentially now being a part of it in terms of like your coverage and how the network in essence is kind of moving forward? Is there something that you're like, hey, I can't wait to do this now that I'm even more solidified than I was before?
Oh, that's a good question. I love that now I can connect with viewers in a different way. People who are following these trials, they get attached and they want to learn more. They want to dig in and understand what they can about the law, what they can about the headlines that they're seeing. They want to know those tidbits from what's going on inside the courtrooms from our field team. So when I've been in the field, I was a field correspondent, and I was able to connect with viewers in a different way because I was spending a lot of time gathering that information. But now having a set time that viewers can check in, they can know they're going to hear certain things when I am on air with Ted Rollins, who is a longtime anchor, been anchor since the relaunch as well. And then the hour, 2 p.m. Eastern, that I am the anchor solo for, you just get to connect with viewers in a different way. While they're watching the trial, I can be seeing their comments and questions online, which I couldn't really do when I was in the field. So just a different level of engagement, but the same research and deep dives into these trials that are really capturing a lot of people's attention. And I think because they can watch us anywhere on many different platforms, you don't need cable, it's free to watch us. They're just tuned in, and that's been a real bonus to being in this role.
No, 1,000%. And I think that's such an amazing, answer in a way to, it's kind of attributed to you, right? Because you do care about what you're doing, and that interaction and engagement is a real part of this too. So there's going to be obviously a couple of questions that we ask here and cover that you've been asked a million times over and everything like that too, but we'll try to put a little bit of a spin and flair on it in general. But, with the experience as an attorney and journalist, do you find yourself more drawn to one side or the other, like the law itself, or the kind of the journalism now? I mean, you're more rooted in the journalism side right now, right? But is that where you find yourself more drawn to in general?
I don't even know if I can parse it out into two different sides, because it's like doing the same thing when I'm watching and trying to understand the way these trials are going. I mean, right now we're following the cases that are coming up for trial. So we're looking at a lot of the filings that are being done by both sides. And it takes sometimes my legal mind to understand what these parties are saying when they are trying to suppress a confession or they're trying to keep out a prior bad act. That's something that I need that part of my brain for. And then when we're delivering it in a way that our viewers can understand, pulling out the parts that are really going to be important to them, then I'm using a different side. And I'm seeing these attorneys that sometimes I'm very familiar with what they're going through from that background. So it's hard to tell which side is the pull, but I also often get the question of, why did you leave the law for news? And what was the pull from journalism. And really just a quick story is that when I was an attorney, I was a civil litigator, and sometimes I'd help people recover financially when they had been wronged. And it would take 2 years for them to get some kind of a resolution. And when I left law to go into journalism and I was able to help someone through a story, this was a veteran's wife who he passed away and she couldn't get the benefits that she deserved. And it took one story for the VA to see that story, start researching what had happened, and she got all of the money that she had been owed for years with just the one story. So I say I was able to help people a little bit quicker with the news than I was as a lawyer, but you need both sides in society for sure.
No, real talk there, Julia. And I think in some of the work that you've done, you've obviously been awarded and lauded for it, right, as well too. So I believe, if I'm reading correctly, won an Emmy or two, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, three Emmys for investigative work that I was really privileged to be able.
It's your game, Julia. Don't be modest here. We're here. It's dope interviews.
Lauren, I know there's probably some outdated articles out there, but yeah, it's been an honor to get those, and they've been for opportunities to help people share their story, and that's what draws me to journalism, is that you can take a story that some people may not have ever witnessed. They would have not even thought about researching a story like that, but you can amplify it and bring someone's voice who normally wouldn't have a voice to a platform that's on par with people who are more powerful, who have more to get it out there on their own.
So I think in that aspect, I think that can be really rewarding. So, quick veering off left here too. So I'm sure you hear this stuff, this lot as well too. But back in the day when I was in college, I thought about pursuing the attorney route. Even have a bachelor in legal studies, and there was just parts of it too where I was like, man, I don't know if I'm not going to be able to take this home at night. And you know what I mean? And that impact of wanting to help. And then I think almost feeling like, man, if I fail in helping somebody, I'm really going to wear that. Right. But there's a flip side of when it does go well. So, I mean, can you talk about that aspect of like why you even kind of got into the law to begin with in general, like truly to try to help, but maybe some failures that you might have had that you really had to learn from, and kind of like, for lack of a better phrase, maybe lick your wounds and, pick yourself back off the mat and kind of come back and go stronger.
Oh, too many times to tell. I mean, there were times in practicing where you're doing it because you want to help. And there are so many deadlines. There are so many very important things that impact someone's case that it would create a lot of stress. So my hats are off to attorneys who do it day in and day out, to those public servants, the prosecutors and the public defenders who do it with a caseload that's rising every day and don't always get the thanks. Sometimes get a lot of negativity, especially defense attorneys who are just protecting something that's such an important right of our Constitution. For me personally, though, it is a balance of bringing home with you what you're doing day to day, and that's in news and in law. I think I see it more now in news because we are covering some of the worst things about our society, but in a way where we focus on these victims, focus on our criminal justice system. And one of the most difficult ones to sit through, well, I'll say two in the last 5 years, the most difficult was the trial for the murder of George Floyd and the Parkland school shooter sentencing trial. I mean, they had such heavy details to live through these victims and the people who were on the stand, but it's also a privilege to be the one who's tasked with helping usher other people through that, watching and that intake of such sad details.
Well, you touched on something that, and maybe it's too sensitive to talk about, but we'll try to navigate through it here a little bit too. So our society is very much rooted in a lot of negativity. And you said it's interesting kind of how you phrase that, right? You're like, sometimes like these trials are focusing on the worst things that have happened. And, I live in Sunrise, Florida, so very close to, to Parkland and, what happened in that area. So the community is still healing from that in a lot of ways. What is it about, I guess, really just the unfortunate aspect of murder that draws people's attention? Like, I feel like it's the most covered, it's the most sought after, it's going to get the most views, clicks, reads, et cetera, et cetera. What about that do you think is resonating so much with society?
That is a great question, because I think there are different reasons that people watch our trials.
Mhm.
Trials impact almost every part of our society. It doesn't matter race, creed, income level, every kind of defendant, every kind of victim gets impacted and it touches our criminal justice system. So I think sometimes people see themselves in some way in these trials, whether it's if you see one where a child is impacted, they think about their own child and how they would never want
Yeah.
anything to happen to their child. So they want to watch and either see justice or figure out how to keep it from happening to them. I think that's an innate part of it as well. And it's also an opportunity at times to understand our criminal justice system a lot better. There's a lot of misconceptions about it. There is bias that has our society is working to become a more perfect union and perfect our system. But I think with transparency and having eyes on it, that we learn more about it and it can do good in the end. It can make it a better system. So I think it's a small part of it when we are showing people exactly what happens there and then analyzing it for them so they can better understand it.
I think shifting gears maybe a little bit too. So is there anything court or trial wise coming up that you think could impact our upcoming election? Stuff that maybe candidates should be asked about their thoughts and their views on, anything in that aspect that you see coming down the pipeline?
Mm. So my follow-up question back to you as an anchor, I got to clarify. So do you mean literally our presidential election where we do have the
Oh,
presidential candidate who is potentially going to be on trial by then, or what candidates should be avoiding?
I like it. Let's go with the presidential election as the most, high ticketed item, but we can dive into some of the other stuff too if you'd like as
I just
well.
want to make sure.
No,
So
good, no, good point.
certainly the case against Donald Trump is one that we are following very closely, particularly the one in Georgia, because that's the only one that's going to
Yeah.
allow cameras in. So that will be where we will be a part of the pool and be trying to bring that coverage to viewers. We just recently were bringing the coverage of the prosecutor, the district attorney, Fani Willis, and the questions about impropriety. Uh, these are things that could impact elections because regardless of how the trial, the outcome is, people are watching and they're getting information about a potential candidate and it could
Yeah.
impact how they vote. Now, on court TV, we don't get into the politics. So if you want to watch it without the political banter, then court TV is the place to watch it. But this is a unique time in our history where we've never seen a presidential election with a former sitting president and a future candidate being under this kind of scrutiny, being prosecuted, and potentially still going on to become the nominee, et cetera. So I think just the thing to watch for is for the one where the cameras are going to be in the courtroom, you can watch the evidence just based on the evidence and not on the commentary that will surround
Mm.
it. Because unfortunately, depending on where you watch, sometimes it can be difficult to know just the evidence purely as it is.
So you'd say, I think, and not necessarily, well, it doesn't have to be a shameless plug, but it's a plug nonetheless. Like court TV is giving you what you need to know, right? Unfiltered, without fluff from either side, without a vested interest. Like, hey, these are just the facts of the case, and that's why people should tune into court TV.
That's our goal, Warren. That is truly our goal. I can't say that we've never had a viewer accuse us of being on one side or the other, but when they both accuse us of either side, then I think we're probably right there in the middle because of the commentary we get. But I mean, that's our goal, is to avoid the politics and to let people know. And that's our judicial system, right? Both sides get an opportunity to speak to the jury, and the court is always balancing and weighing, not being too prejudicial to the defendant, but also allowing the state to uphold and meet their burden.
We're chatting with anchor and host of Court TV, Julia Jenaé. She is doing an amazing job here with us here too. We'll go back to a little lighter stuff here on the other side of this break here on Dope Interviews. Again, make sure you follow Court TV on Instagram and social media. You can follow Julia at Court TV on IG as well too. We'll be right back after this quick break.
Are you ready to step up your style without compromising the planet? Introducing the exciting partnership between Blueview Footwear and the 19 Media Group Network. Just visit bit.ly/Blueview19 to start your sustainable style journey. Our friends over at Blueview Footwear are renowned for introducing the world's first fully biodegradable sneaker. By using plant-based plastics, they are leading a revolution in cleaner materials and manufacturing. They have sleek and contemporary styles that cater to a wide range of tastes. Blueview Footwear believes that fashion and sustainability can coexist harmoniously. Explore their incredible collection of eco-friendly footwear by visiting bit.ly/Blueview19. If you let us know you made a purchase, we'll shout you out on our next show. Again, just visit bit.ly/Blueview19 today, and you'll see the ultimate collaboration of fashion, sustainability, and media excellence.
And we're back here on Dope Interviews, again, chatting with Julia Jenaé here from Court TV. Julia, so let's take it a little bit lighter side here as we close out the interview. Some of the heavier stuff there on the first half, but definitely want to kind of get a little bit more about you and some of your thoughts. So I'm a big TV guy, so I'm sure you get this question a lot as well too. But when it comes down to, like, do you watch political dramas? Do you watch court imitations, if you will, of court cases and stuff like that on television? And what are some of your favorites, if any?
Yes, I do. Guilty.
Guilty.
Law and Order junkie. I mean, every Law and Order that's ever been made, I watch it. Currently going back through some of the older ones from the 90s and loving just how you get to see how different we were in terms of our political correctness and what was happening inside of probably police stations then that has changed now. Even there's a Law and Order UK and a Law and Order Trial by Jury. Wow. So I've gone back to watch through those. But FBI too, I'm a big fan of that.
I heard FBI is good. Yeah, I heard FBI is pretty good. I haven't caught on to that yet, but yeah, I like a lot of truly political drama, like I guess stuff with, you know what I mean, the CIA, doing their foolishness or whatever the case may be, and trying to solve some of those kind of wild cases. But what is your and something I've always wanted to ask, since I never pursued my actual law degree, I dropped out after getting the legal studies. Like, never mind, I'm going to go do sports management instead. But your thoughts on the relationship between lawyers and police officers? Like, I feel like, and you correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like lawyers need to know the police officer's job more than the police officers need to know the lawyer's job. Like, in terms of because I feel like if I watch TV, you're more likely to catch the police officer doing something wrong, or they didn't collect evidence in the right way, so to speak. But talk to me a little bit about that dynamic and how you build rapport and relationships with police officers in cases.
Oh yeah, the two have to work together. And I do think police have to understand what lawyers do, because the police are the first line of defense. They are the first ones to get the evidence, to question the suspect. And we're seeing this unfold now. We're covering the Chad Doberman case in Ohio. And I know we said we weren't going to do the heavier things, but he's accused of killing 3 of his sons. And they're trying to throw his confession out because they say the police didn't ask him for a lawyer, or rather he asked for a lawyer and the police didn't give him one, and that they kept continuing to ask him questions, and that he didn't waive his Miranda rights. And so if there was a confession and that could have been a slam dunk case, then something that happened just in the moment of catching this person and bringing them in could make it very difficult for the prosecutor that gets the case, or even the defense attorney. So I do think police do have to know what the lawyers have to do, almost have to have a pseudo background in law, which the lead in Law and Order Original that airs now, Cat Brooks, it's playing someone who was a lawyer who's now a police officer. So I love that. Nice.
Any aspirations? Would you want to get into the acting space, or have you done some acting before?
No, I don't know if I'd be I used to say the phrase like I'm not a lawyer, but I'll play one on TV, because I'm on court TV. I don't practice anymore, but I don't know about that.
No,
Who knows?
Yeah, you can't close the door. Nothing else. Maybe a cameo, get you on something. You know what I mean?
You think Dick would call me?
I think he would. I think you would. Before we kind of close out, a couple of last ones here as well too. So I've also been curious, from a lawyer standpoint. So everybody's human, right? And sometimes cases that you may have even been involved in as well too involve celebrities. Have you ever been like even starstruck and if I could be so bold as to even say like, oh snap, you know what I mean, where this is who we're having to cover in this case, or the case to be, or involved in a case where you were dealing with a celebrity who you were maybe up against on the other side.
Not on the other side, only as a journalist. So right down the middle, I covered R. Kelly's trafficking trial in New York, and he was behind bars, so you didn't get to see him up close and personal. But having grown up with R. Kelly music and then hearing it blasted outside of the courthouse every day, you really had to step back and realize this is who's on trial and separate the celebrity from the trial. The coolest person that I think so far I've been to a trial of, keeping this light on this half, was Gwyneth Paltrow. I was at the ski trial for her back early last year. And this was a civil case, not criminal, but she was accused of running into a guy. And every day she walked past us, she had it set up to where we could not approach her at all. And her bodyguards were there, but she seemed to be a pretty chill person.
Nice. Last two, if you could go back in time and be involved in any case, what would that be and why?
Supreme Court, Brown versus Board. I would have wanted to see Thurgood Marshall deliver those statements in person. 1954.
That's a good one. Real good one, actually. So how do you, in essence, when you're not balancing the journalistic world, being with your family and then kind of, being a wife, mom, whatever the case may be, like, how do you balance your time? Like, what do you do for you? Like, how do you get your own wellness and well-being for Julia Jenaé?
Well, taking that time and space to meditate, because we spend a lot of time dealing with, like I mentioned, some of the worst that our society has to offer. I'm kind of a space nerd, so anytime I can get out under the stars, can take some time just to get away. My husband and I were going to travel to the path of totality for when the solar eclipse comes in April, so that we can actually see that phenomenon. I think it won't be around again for another 25 to 50 years. So that's what I like to do, to just keep that balance. But I love what I do, so that really helps me not have burnout or feel overwhelmed.
Well, I think in closing, you are great at what you do. And I want to thank you so much for, giving of your time and yourself. I want to congratulate you again and all the great work that you are doing, have done, and will continue to do on Court TV. She is Julia Jenaé. Make sure, again, you follow her on IG at Julia Court TV. Make sure you follow Court TV on their respective outlets as well. I'm Warren Shaw. You can follow me at Shaw Sports NBA or dope_interviews. And as you know what it is, man, Julia Jenaé, dope rock star. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been another dope interviews, y'all, and we're out.
Together we stand, divided we never. The vision is one, striving for the better. Working as a team, working toward a dream. It's not even work when the team is the dream. On a united front, we got our own back. A band of brothers to counteract any attack. One heart, in fact, forget what the blood say. Dope is what flows in this fam's DNA. So let's do it for the love, give to the max. Listen to opinion, but react to facts. And remember that together with a shh, but separate, just pieces of it. Dope is what flows in this fam's DNA. Dope is what flows in this fam's DNA.
Family represent like a tree with names on it. We're free, no chains on it. Relieved, the pain's gone, I can see. We come together like questions on the quiz. Mojo, Flow, and Viz, man, you know what it is. And if ignorance is bliss, you're gonna hate this lesson. Organized intellect like a tropical depression. My symbol is the cross, a mic, and ghost peppers. Cause I'm just a black sheep, growing up to be a shepherd. Moonlighting as a weapon to protect the children. Every brother is a father, dynasties we're building. Max, J, and K, Bay, and Isaiah, next level of the family foundation. Understand me?